Hello children, let's start the new chapter, the colonial era in India. In this chapter, we are going to talk about in detail about the colonies formed by the European countries in India and how the Indians fought back against these colonial people. Now, the first of all, the chapter has begun with a quote by William Digby, whereby he is talking about, rather he was criticizing British, and he was claiming that British has formed their development, or you can say their society, by taking money from India. You know, William Digby was a British writer, journalist and critic of British people. The colonial era in India was a period when European powers like Portuguese, Dutch, French and British, they all came to India. First as a trader, but later when they found the loopholes, they became the ruler, shaping the country's history. Now this chapter will allow you to explore that how these foreigners, they shaped Indian economy, society and culture. Means they brought the change in all the aspects of the country, and then how the Indians fought back with these people. You know, first of all, the Portuguese came to India with the entry of Vasco da Gama, which took place in 1498 in Kozhikode. Now we will talk about the age of colonialism. As you all know that the 4 European people came to India, that was Portuguese, followed by Dutch, French and then British. So the colonialism began when powerful nations took over weaker sections to gain weaker regions to gain wealth, power and influence, often at the expense of the homogeneous, or you can say the native people and their traditions. This is the timeline which shows the entry and the exit of all these 4 European countries. 1674, now we are continuously talking about the colonialism, that European people, they formed the colonies in India. Now what is this colonialism actually? Colonialism is when one country takes control of another region, setting up settlements and imposing its own political, economic and cultural system. It began long ago with ancient empires in the first millennium BCE and continued with the spread of Christianity and Islam in the first millennium CE, which involved colonizing new territories. Now let's talk about the European expansions. The age of colonialism refers to the Europeans' expansion starting in the 15th century when countries like Spain, Portugal, Britain, France and the Netherlands built colonies in Africa, Asia, America and Australia and Pacific Islands. They conquered these regions through military campaigns, often massacring or executing or enslaving native people. Now why these European people want to form colonies in Asian countries or the other continents? Because European powers competed for global influence, racing to control more land for political power. Colonies gave access to new resources, markets and trade routes, often through plundering local wealth. Converting people to Christianity was a major goal, along with exploring unknown lands to learn about geography and nature. So have you understood up to here? Okay, let's further proceed to impact on colonized regions. Now colonizers claim they brought progress with a civilizing mission, but often called native people savage or primitive. You know, children, this was the object of the European to capture the different continents and forming the colonies. They believed that it was their civilizing mission. You know, they used to think that the people all round are primitive, and it is their civilizing mission to civilize those people. So they said that this was also one of the reasons to form the colonies. But in reality, colonized regions were lost independence, had their resources exploited, traditional ways of life destroyed. Basically, they destroyed their traditional and the cultural life completely, and they faced the foreign cultural values as they did in India. While the colonial era connected the world and grew economies and technology, the benefits went mostly to the colonizers. They said that it is their civilizing mission to civilize the world, but it was actually their own economic growth and the technology, and the benefit was only going to their country, and they left these people or the areas where they formed the colonize in a very big hardship. Now, resistance and decline. Many colonized regions resisted foreign rule, and colonialism declined in the mid-20th century, especially after World War II, when most colonies gained independence. It was basically from the 1940 to 50. This chapter focuses on Indian experience with European colonialism and its impact. You know, children, basically the chapter is talking about the formation of the colonies in different parts of the world. Okay, they came to different parts of the world to rule, to do the expansion of their territories and take enormous money from these colonized countries and develop their own country. Now we will talk about specifically the Europeans' capture of India. Drawn by Indian wealth and trade, European nations like the Portuguese, Dutch, French established trading posts which later became basis for colonial control. Now, India's pre-colonial prosperity. You know, children, these British people, as we have read in the chapter, that they said that it was their civilizing mission to form the colonies in the different parts of the world. But actually, they ruined the countries, or you can say they ruined the areas where they formed the colonies. Like India. Like let me give you a glimpse of the pre-colonial prosperity. India traded with the Greeks and Romans over 2000 years ago, exporting spices, cotton, ivory, gems, sandalwood and teak wood, and wood steel, highly valued in the Mediterranean region. Until the 16th century, India was a major economic and cultural power, contributing about 1/4 of the world's GDP alongside China, as estimated by economics Angus Madison. European travelers from the 16th century described India as flourishing, noting its strong manufacturing, diverse agriculture and widespread trade networks. India's wealth made it tempting target for European colonial powers. Now, let me show you this table whereby you can easily understand the different European people capturing India, their arrival time. You can talk about the company rules, about their centers, their aim and their relations with the India. Now let me talk about the Portuguese. The Portuguese came in 1498 with the entry of the Vasco da Gama, and the rule was Portuguese Crown's rule. They entered in Goa. Basically they formed the centers in Goa, Daman, Diu and Kochi, and their aim was to trade and the spread Christianity. Missionary influence, small territories. Then Dutch. They came in 1602 with the rule of Dutch East India Company. They captured, they formed the main centers in Machilipatnam, Pulicat, Surat and Nagapattinam. They did the trade of spices and textile. Mostly they had the relations with Indian was commercial and limited political involvement. Then French came in 1664. The rule was under the French East India Company. They formed their centers at Pondicherry, Chandenagar, Mahe and Karaikal. Their aim was to do trade and expand political control. That means they wanted to control or to capture the land or the area. And initially their relation was friendly, but later they turned rivalry with the British. And British came in 16th century. Under the leadership or the rule of British East India Company, they captured, or you can say they formed the three presidencies, that was Bombay, Madras and Calcutta. Their main aim was trade, but later on to acquire the administration, that is the politically rule. And they had strong political control. They formed alliances with the Indian rulers by making the puppet rulers. You know, the Portuguese had major conflict with Arab traders and local rulers, and their decline was because of the limited power and strong rivals. Whereas if I talk about the Dutch people, they fought with Portuguese and the English, and their main reason for decline was strong British and English navy corruption. If I talk about French, they lost their major conflict was Anglo-French Carnatic War, and they were defeated in this war. And then the British, they fought with French, they formed Indian rulers, also fought with Indian rulers like Mysore, Marathas, Bengal, etc. And they did not decline initially. They ruled for almost 200 years in India. You can further go on. Now in the next chapter we will talk about the Portuguese capture and their rule.